the show. I'm your host, Mac, and today I have a special guest. I have Jayson on the show. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much, my friend.
Hey, no problem, buddy. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah, Jayson Maxwell, and you can definitely find me. Main page is on Instagram at JTAOMAX and the number 3, or just Jayson Maxwell. You know, that also works. And that's about the main spot. Other than that, you can find old videos and new videos on YouTube if you want to go that route too.
And you just released some new music too, right, Jayson? So go ahead and give that a plug. Where can they find the music?
Yeah, the music that I released, the song's called Addicted, and you can find that on Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music, Amazon Music, pretty much everywhere you can stream. I'm probably one of the other million folks out there using CD Baby for distribution, and I'm not sponsored, by the way, it's for that plug. But it's out there. But along with a host of other songs that I've got in that.
Yeah, I was checking out. You got some songs that are previously released on there. So you have some new material, so some older material, and then it looks like Instagram's probably your main page to like check you out and see your little Insta-minute videos here, something you're calling it off prior to the interview, right? So why don't you tell everybody where you started on the Instagram thing? You were telling me a few minutes ago about that, when you got on Instagram and what you were doing with that.
Yeah, I got on Instagram. And it was funny because I didn't really being part of a different generation, right? I didn't really understand much about it, but it was like the kind of the new thing. And you scroll through and you see folks posting pictures of food and travel. So I was like, well, I've got a few guitars. I'll just post guitars. And so that's really kind of how it started, was just kind of posting my guitar collection back in 2016. And then that evolved into, I think I could play on here. I think I could record something and post that. Let's see what that does. And then that evolved into, me also, when I was traveling everywhere, I was posting pictures of airplanes. So it really became like just a music and travel thing for me. And then maybe an occasional guitar post, because I wasn't that confident, really in what I wanted to do with music. And until eventually I was like, you got to jump off the cliff at some point or other. And I used my guitar as a parachute. I felt confident enough in my skill set, and I just started going and ripping off songs. And, and I say ripping, not stealing. I meant just, ripping out songs. And what I would do is I'd find backing tracks and, that I would create on my own, or that were, compiled on free sites. And I would just solo over those for a minute. And so what you would get would be basically a minute of me playing. And I would do that once or twice a week. And then, eventually I'd release some songs and threw those on there. And here we are today, was that 8 years later? And it's been good. It's been good.
How many followers you got right now on Instagram? I saw there's a lot.
I think it's like 60,000 about. Yeah.
It's pretty good. And I saw like Neil Shawn or something.
Yeah. I'm not name dropping.
I saw it. I'll name drop. My first cassette was Journey. So when I saw that on your Instagram, so I was like, well, okay.
And I look at that as people have been following me, you kind of go, okay, is it, I know it's him, but I don't know that, it's not like I'm DMing him and we're, trading ideas or anything like that. Right. And I'm very, I'm also very thankful, but I also respect, their space. But I look at followership as kind of one set of the equation. It's the engagement piece of it that's really that's the key. Is a person can have 10,000 followers or even 10, but if everybody's engaging in that in that space, then you're doing really, really well. And so I try to I've never changed my style. What I try to do is just kind of change my format a little bit in terms of, okay, guitar is still good, but now maybe a little guitar with some humor, as you've seen some of my funnier videos. And then along with, putting out the serious stuff of the recordings I'm releasing. So I just try to mix that up, but I've never changed, my style or who I am, and I think that's been good.
I think it's great because it was before all these reels and things started. You were doing that basically already, you know, with the 1 minute
Yeah.
guitar pieces, and now it's just reels and those type of things are getting longer now, as I found out, and you might know, and different. You can put like whole 5, 10 minute, 20 minute things. TikTok can be long, all that kind of stuff. But I find it like very interesting. Your perspective is similar to mine. It's a tool. You know, it's a way to interact, and if there isn't some good interaction, then there's no real point to it all. Because I mean, I don't know about you, but I really don't want to just be out there putting stuff. I want some interaction because that's what life's
Yeah.
about. So,
And I
and
think,
you,
go ahead, Sean.
no,
I'm sorry.
and I was just saying, you've got me a few times on your funny ones where you've got like a serious thing going. I'm gonna encourage people to go check it out and scroll through because you got like something going on with like some, I don't know, some ladies doing something or something, and all of a sudden you're like playing guitar. I'm just like, yeah, I needed that. I could use that right now.
A good little 7 to 10 second, you know, kind of clip is good,
Yeah,
right? You know,
yeah,
so I think, you know, it was interesting. You don't learn this when you start. I think it kind of evolves over time. You know, you've got kids and I've got kids. You know, nobody takes photos really anymore. They take them on their phone, and that's kind of where they're stored. Nobody really has a good photo album or a good, what I like to call a good legacy piece of this. And I kind of learned over the past 8 years not to care so much about the algorithm and not to care so much, you know, about the engagement piece, but more or less that, you know, at the end of the day, you know, there is going to be and I'm hoping it never goes away, but there's going to be a time where I do. And, you know, my kids and my grandkids, they're going to have something to look back on and say, you know, that's my dad, and my friends the same, you know, same thing. And that's, so I kind of, I've learned to accept social media for me, not only as a tool, but also as kind of a really cool photo album. And that's alive.
yeah. We use Facebook memories all the time. My wife and I, on purpose, we'll be on Facebook on purpose. I'll be like, I don't know if I should put this, and we just put something on our story, even just her and I on a date night or something, just for us. Like I don't really care. Sometimes I don't care, you know, about other people for that because it comes back around as a memory like a year later, 8 years later, and you're like, holy cow, what, you know? So there's kind of that aspect, and I also want to say that you can't really get away from all the algorithms. So, but you can use them, like you're saying. So, like I go searching for things instead of doom scrolling. So when I was searching for guitarists and music sites, I found yours and started seeing your stuff, and I love the interaction capability. But let's go back a little bit in history. And let's tell everybody that's known you for a little bit. Maybe they haven't known you for a while, like myself. So, like, where did you grow up, and what area of the country, and so forth?
Yeah. I grew up in Colorado, and originally born in Texas, but I don't think my accent comes out that much. But you know, grew up in Colorado for my formative years. You know, all the way through high school, some of college, and then, you know, from there, just kind of moved around and moved from Colorado to Ohio. Got to experience Ohio for a little bit. Lived in Jersey for you know, almost 10 years. Then back to Texas, and now Florida. So it's, you know, from a life experience perspective, I think it's been really cool to, you know, it's different geography, but, you know, people are what make the geography even more interesting. And it is different cultures, and you know, you get to be a part of all of it. And so I think that's been what's been really, really cool about that part of life and growing up and moving around. But majority of my time in Colorado, where you just, you know, with your friends and your family, and you get exposed to different music. And it was in Colorado where I had my very first concert experience at a very young age, when I got to see Neil Diamond. And then my second concert was Billy Joel. And I think that's where it really kind of hit me, as not that I wanted to do what they were doing, I just wanted to be a part of what they were doing. And so I was bitten from there. And then you get kind of into other things that your parents are kind of shoving down your throat until you finally kind of find something. And it was in Colorado where you know, my first album I ever bought was Styx, Paradise Theater. And I was like, there's nothing better than this. And I gravitated, then started to with you know, with Tommy Shaw and his songwriting and his guitar playing. I was like, now that's something I can, you know, kind of get behind. And then you go to school, and everybody's like, Styx, what the hell is that? You know, because you're young, You
Yeah.
should be listening to this,
Yeah.
right? And that's when I, was introduced to Def Leppard and Pyromania, Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil, all kind of same era. But I didn't want to be kind of pigeonholed into that. It was beyond Motley Crue and Def Leppard. It was Bryan Adams. It was Bon Jovi. All of these folks that kind of like were around. Even Loverboy. If you kind of think about all of that era, of different styles of music. I loved music so much. I didn't want to pigeonhole myself into just this one. Like I only do this because if I'm going to play guitar, I want to be able to not necessarily mimic, but I also just I want to have a full range of things to be able to play. And I mean, because I love playing classical guitar and I love classical music. I think there's a lot to be said, with R&B and hip hop. And so you just kind of expose yourself to different things. And Colorado was a great place to do that. So then when you grow up and you move away, then all of a sudden that's when you start finding out, even other different tastes, East Coast, versus West Coast, Midwest, country. Yeah, I mean it's crazy. This from
Yep.
being.
Oh yeah, all my friends were in the Buffalo, Niagara Falls area where my wife and I are from, and we go to Toronto and all that stuff and see music, and you got Philadelphia and Cleveland, and then a lot of my friends headed out to LA. And then when they came back, just like the Goo Goo Dolls were from Buffalo, and before they went to Buffalo, they were punk. Then they come back and they're more pop rocky, and it's like kind of what you're talking about. They went out and experienced other things and brought it back. So let's see. So what type of influences in your songwriting do you think you have in the last, like growing up and now writing as you're getting older? What are some of your influences?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. When you kind of look at the traditional song structure, songwriting, and you think influence wise, and again, my opinion only is that when you're people they gravitate towards music and lyrics, right? But something kind of hits them more, because I think you could take really crappy lyrics but have an incredible beat behind it, and still it's a great song. But for me, it was more kind of like everything, and so I think early on, I really looked at as a kid, I was like, God, there's something about Billy Joel. There was something about Journey. There was something about Neil Diamond, the way they kind of approached it in that way. And then on the countryside, not necessarily George Strait, but Dean Dillon behind George Strait, who wrote a ton of his songs. You just start to tune in on those things. But it wasn't until, and I hope nobody makes fun of me for this, but it wasn't until I heard Hysteria by Def Leppard, where I really started kind of looking into, man, it's not just song structure, but it's how they take different layers within a palette and place it all onto one song. You may want to call it overproduced, but I call it, like, at the end of the day, the listening experience between both of your ears was insane. And that's really what kind of kickstarted me to go, okay, if I'm going to write something so simple, how can I look at this painting and put on different colors within the palette to truly make it a listening experience rather than just straight up, singer songwriter or hard rock or whatever the case may be. So I'd say, I could list a host of influences, which I think I just did, but it kind of goes down to, again, I think, I move over more on the production side of just, how things are done. And then also, lyrically. Now I'm rambling. So
No, you're good, because that's all right, because I'm thinking about things while you're talking here, because there's bands like you could easily just start to replicate. So I didn't get into guitar until after I got out of the Army, right? And so I was in my 20s when I got into it and started learning, and like, okay, I could learn some singer-songwriter, like maybe America, like Horse with No Name or something. I'm out of colleges, right? And I'm kind of emulating that 12 string, 6 string, right? And then all of a sudden I get an electric, I got a Strat and stuff. I started playing, and kind of what you're talking about came to light, because I was buying Hysteria, Pyromania, all that stuff. But when I thought, okay, well, let me look up, and this was hard in the 90s, but let me look up how to play Hysteria. Right? And I'm like, well, the chords aren't that hard, but oh my goodness, I can't get that emotion out. I can't do it without all that stuff that they're doing that you're talking about. It's complicated. So,
yeah.
There's a huge distinction in my mind, being out and playing off and on for decades, between maybe just rolling out a Bad Company kind of thing or trying to play a Hysteria.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan Adams was huge because I was up by the Canadian border, so his guitar player and all that were just amazing. So I do agree with you on that, and it's interesting. So when you write songs, are you the type of guy that writes, kind of sits down with an acoustic, starts working things out? Do you play some piano too, or do you just go right into electric? How do you kind of do it?
It's interesting. Electric's like the kind of the last thing for me because I mean, most people when they see my stuff, it is more singer songwriter. No, not a lot of drums, just a lot of, again, that whole listening experience of where I'm bringing in whether it be violin or slide, and then like background a little bit of electric, 12 string, whatever the case may be. So it'll start really with the acoustic, and usually it starts with just a general riff, I guess, just like everybody else, kind of like a riff. And then I'm like, wait, can I take this somewhere? Is this more of a middle? Is this more of a beginning? And then that's where you kind of go, okay, I think I can take this somewhere. And then lyrics are usually the last for me, obviously, I think with everybody else. But, I think over the course of history, people have either been like, it starts with the hook, or it goes, you write a great chorus and you build around that. And I always write, kind of outside in. I just start from the beginning and tell the story. And then hopefully there's a chorus there. But if not, there's kind of a story. So let's see what you think about that.
Everybody's got a story, man. That's what this channel is about. Is like running into everybody and letting them tell their story, because I do really believe it, out and about, and you travel a lot. You're all over the place, and it's like, and you meet a lot of people, and I see you recognize that everybody does have a story. So now, do you have different types of influences though, as far as modern day style, like recording styles or anything like that, compared to what we were talking about before? Because you got your John Mayers now, and you got these Joey Landreth guys, you got all these different people now. You got people on Instagram putting stuff out, all these Instagram players. So is there anything in the last 10 years or 5 years or something that's maybe kind of changed how you approach recording or anything?
I think when we kind of look at that, I think one of the bands that I continue, and I've gotten to meet them a couple of times, watching Shinedown and watching Eric Bass and Brent Smith and Zach Myers, and just watching the way they approach songwriting and watching the way they approach production. And you want to talk about a band who has evolved, who came out with a great hard edge, a little bit of punk, a little bit of metal, and obviously still kind of going for that popular side. But they, to me, these last few albums that they've come out with have just been some of the best music, in my opinion. That's highly underrated. And Zach Myers is an insane guitar player, insane. Again, I think when we talk modern day, the things that I listen to on that end. But I'll go so far as to then, even on the pop side, when you're listening to stuff by either Dua Lipa or kind of even to me, even listening to The Weeknd, it's you can pick things out of each genre of music and go, there's something to be said here, and kind of how do you tell that story? So does it end up ultimately making into a song for me, like Fall to Pieces? Not necessarily, but the way the structure kind of happens does, and also the way I produce it, in terms of adding in those different layers, those different colors, if you will. So that's kind of the stuff I'll pull from there.
Now, there's a few questions here as you're talking about this. Like in production, are you using regular amps? Are you using real amps with mic'd up? Are you using modelers? Are you mixing it? Because some guys now even are mixing some of it. They're capturing the live real amps, but then they're overdubbing with modelers. So are you doing it? Are you yes to all of it, or where you stand kind of in that list?
So it's interesting. The thing that I do here, so I have somebody, basically I'll record everything here in my studio, and I record everything as dry as possible. So and that's the thing that's even more of a mind trip if you think about it, because you have a sound in your head and you're the songwriter and what you kind of want to do. So in a way, I'm putting all these things together as a producer in a very sterile environment, and then I send it off to a studio, which I've used studios here, studios in Texas, studio up in Massachusetts, and and you gotta then explain to them, with your words, right? With your words. How can I, how can I explain what this sounds like, if you will?
Oh, I love these explanations, man. When I get my friends going with pedals and tones and
Oh,
stuff,
yeah,
I like the
yeah.
bubbly. I like I like the fuzzy. I like the beep, the boop up, 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 boop up. And you're like,
Or how about when you're saying it needs to sound like a Boss overdrive, but like I need the one knob at 11 o'clock and the other one at 2. Like that's what I'm thinking, right? And so I'm kind of looking now. I've also done it complete opposite, where I have gone through. I've got a small Marshall and an orange, cab, and I've gone really. I just try to go as dry as possible there too. Just use the amp to really kind of kick that notch. I've never been good with pedals, and the reason why is because I've never understood chain, and I've never understood kind of where the sound that I'm looking for. I've never been able to kind of dial that in versus just plugging directly in, kind of to the amp. And then, thank goodness for Positive Grid, which I know
I got one right here. I got the new one.
I've got the Spark as well
Yeah.
as I've also got their travel size, no plug,
Yeah.
Shameless plug here, for PG, and that changes everything. It changes everything. And so I have recorded into that and put that into the mix, and I've gotten yelled at for it by they're like, we told you clean, we told you nothing. I was like, but you can't get this sound.
Well, that's what people who don't play guitar and record don't understand. If they're just a listener, they're our generation, MTV generation, whatever, YouTube now. A lot of people don't understand what we're talking about, and the way I like to describe it is you start with a bass sound, but you can always add to it. If you start up here, there's no magic that a studio can do to take away ambient reverbs and all that, So to start with that dry sound, for those watching, not everybody's a guitar player that watches at my channel. So just to lay it out there real fast, like a basic sound through like electric guitar, acoustic, and then later post-production, whatever you want to call it, you can add all these effects. That's what Jason's talking about. And then you could change all them effects on top of the bass. But if you start out with all them effects and you send it to somebody, I mean, how they gonna take away all that? You know what I mean?
Right.
They can't.
And it's difficult because they're also looking for frequency in terms of how they are, lining everything out to make sure one thing's not overpowering the other, and they want to make sure that it's clean so they can adjust and make sure that everything's balanced. And
right, and that's something I tell my friends who are non-musicians. When you have an EQ, because most people my age remember EQs in cars, we still have them, but most people forget to go into their little electronic dashboard and set it. And I always tell people that middle hump, either a scoop, mid scoop, or the mid hump, and then us guitar guys. I try to explain to a lot of people, like if you see guys switching around their stuff while they're in the middle of playing, they're looking for that sound to like punch through the band. They're looking for that right frequency. They're switching pickups, to give it that punch now for the solo or rhythm. And so like the producers, like what you're talking about, they're trying to find that frequency between, because unless you're just playing an acoustic guitar like Joe Pass, unless you're just playing an acoustic guitar, they need to find out where everything fits.
Yes, agreed.
Right. Agreed. So, and that's cool. So you send it off to some people, but obviously you have enough ear that you have an idea of what you kind of want. So
yes,
more often than not. Cool. And it sounds good. I've been listening to this stuff. I'm like, man, bang on. I like it. Some good playing, some good sounds. I like it. Some good lyrics and all kind of stuff. Now let's talk about guitars as we're getting on here through the interview. Do you have a favorite type of guitar? And I'll throw a few things out there. You can just go with what you want. Like I'm into S styles, Strats and all that kind of stuff, and mine are like Relic, and I like older kind of styles. And they don't have to be old, but like mine was brand new. I bought it last year, but it's a custom shop 59. So I just like that kind of style. But what are you kind of into when it comes to guitars? All different stuff or just certain ranges?
Definitely Strats and Tellys. I think I mean. I think as a kid, and okay, I'm just gonna say it's just me. You kind of look at yourself and be like, oh my God, look at that Explorer. I mean, watching the T.S. Yobs or watching James Hetfield, rock and explore. I'd be like, I could do that. Dave Grohl, I was like, and then you get one and you're like, this does not fit.
Yes.
A, I look stupid, and B, I can't. I can't. It's not comfortable.
Have you made a video about trying to play a flying bee or something while you're sitting? Like, because it's like
I actually successfully did it. It didn't fly. It didn't fly away. Right?
It like falls off your lap.
Yeah, that was my Taylor that actually. I'm sitting there playing it, just like. But that's the thing with like even Gibson, Les Paul, who wouldn't want to be Jimmy Page, who wouldn't want to be Slash. You emulate these. You go into Guitar Center or wherever, and you're like, yes, that's a guitar. You get it, and then I sit it down, and it just falls right off my lap. It's like bottom heavy. Just go. I can't. I'm gonna stick with what I can play, and that is a Strat, or a Tele, or an acoustic. So the shape kind of picked me.
I like that. It's a good one. So I like the belly cuts now that I'm older, for the Strats, because when K-Line sent me the Telly style, the Truxton, and Chris, shout out to Chris, man, and John Nathan Cordy's YouTube show. If you don't watch him, man, that's how I got into Chris, and Chris isn't too far from me in St. Louis, and he sent me the Telly. I didn't know what I was getting. He sent me a mystery guitar, like he handmade, and I'm like opening up, I'm like, whoa, a Telly. I've never been a Telly guy. I start playing it, and I'm like, my elbow's hurting because there's no belly cut. Yeah. So it's pushing it out into my, and I'm getting ulnar nerve pinch, And anyways, so you like you like S styles and stuff, right?
Yeah, for sure. And then even on the acoustics, like now they're coming out with that, with that beveled edge too, So it does make a difference. That's for sure.
So what's your favorite guitar? Let's start with these two things. What's your first guitar? And what's your favorite guitar right now?
My very first guitar, well, I mean, my parents, when I said I want to play guitar, and like, no, they were just, they don't know any better. Like most parents don't. And they said, no, we'll get you a banjo. And I'm like, what? But I walk in and there's a banjo, and I'm like, I'm not going to play that. So then, you take your newspaper route money and you go out and so my first guitar was a Hohner acoustic, just 6-string, and I still have it. It's hanging in my office. And that's what I played, that and a Yamaha 12-string. So I gigged with those two guitars in high school and in college, with a buddy of mine. And until I really started going, okay, no, this is more an investment. Like, then life happens, get kids and work and all those other things happen. So it wasn't until later that I discovered Taylor. And so favorite line of acoustic guitars, I've tried them all, and I just continually go back and it's been a good relationship also with them.
I love them.
Then again, I mean, I have 13 of them.
Yeah, that's what one of my questions. Before you tell me your favorite electric right now, your favorite acoustic, which you can feel free to pull out. How many guitars do you have right now?
48.
Wow. Yeah. Whoa, is that a Koa? Let me turn up my brightness here.
This is a Koa 12 fret. So it's a shorter scale, which is nice. And I'm really finding, the more that I've played and the older I get, having a shorter scale, it really makes it so much more comfortable. So it's this guitar is now, this has become my favorite acoustic, and I picked this up in California 2 years ago now, and it's the one I go to. I don't travel with it because I don't want anything to happen to it, and they don't make these, I don't think, anymore. But it just feels really nice.
That's very nice. I like that one. I've seen it on your videos with that one. So what's your favorite electric right now?
Favorite electric will always, there's two favorites really. And sorry, I have to get up and
go for it. Yeah, man, go for it.
But my favorite electric will always be the GL56. So the ESP model.
Wow.
Older body. It's got the pearly gates, humbucker, along with the 2 Seymour Duncan single coils. This thing is so versatile. And so I use this to record. I don't play live with it because I only do mainly acoustic shows anyway. But this thing always stays home. But this thing is just, it is so light, and the neck is so good. It's always going to be the favorite, I think.
What size strings you putting on there?
9 through 42.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Is usually, and I used to do thicker strings because I would have a problem of going from acoustic to electric, and so if the strings were too thin, I was banging different notes, I was bending in different ways, and crap was out of tune, or I was breaking stuff, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
And so finally, it took a while to get a balance of finding a lighter gauge acoustic, and and then going back to the 9 through 42s.
Do you lock down the bridge, or do you keep it floating?
No, this one doesn't float because it's just a regular.
Oh, I see now. Yeah.
It's just a regular block.
Yeah.
By the way, so it's interesting that you asked that because, and by the way, I have a few other ESPs because I just love their guitars so much. But it wasn't until I met this gentleman, Steve Brown, from Trickster.
Wow.
So I followed Trickster, back in the day. And so Steve, who owns SBS, or Steve Brown Sound, he came out with his own guitar line. And these things are insanely amazing, but insanely affordable. So This guitar right here, this VS260, I don't want to mess that up because I wrote it down. Is I believe it's the VS260. Mm-hmm. 2 humbuckers here, but also the thing that I love the most is the coil tap. So this way I can still get kind of a Strat sound out of the guitar. The roasted neck, which I also love very, very much.
Cool.
Because it makes it a lot faster. Floyd Rose bridge, and Steve asked me, because I actually got this guitar from him. He said, "Do you want a floating bridge, or do you want to block it?" And I was like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." I was today years old when you kind of found that out. And so he said, I'm gonna block it for you," which he did. And I can't believe how much of a difference it is, because I never pull back on the whammy, and it stays in tune so much more. It's an amazing guitar. I will name drop this because he did sign the back of it. Let's see.
Oh, right, cool. Here. Yeah, I'll put up some info for him right here.
Yeah, because I really think that, and when I say extremely affordable, I have another one in a different color, $380, and then and then you just buy the case afterwards. And for somebody like me or yourself who does invest in guitars and collects guitars, if you want a guitar that just screams and sounds really, really good, I mean, this guitar, you just can't beat it, because they're made really, really well.
That's crazy, man. That's a crazy price. And it's interesting how the neck is like upside down on it, like the headstock tuning heads and stuff are like upside down.
Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And like I said, I have this in white, which I actually picked up from Steve, and amazing guy too. Just I'm still trying to talk him into producing some of my music, so hopefully this plug will help him do that.
There you go, man. Everybody likes free plugs, right?
That's right. I hope so. And then this is the one. That's the one in black. So same model, just in black. And then from a collection perspective, because I think we wanted to kind of get into that.
Yeah.
When you
talk
about going to Guitar Center and then taking lessons, and stuff like that. So I had Instagram. I had the fortune here of meeting Dave Rude from Tesla.
Oh yeah.
So I actually took lessons from Dave.
Nice.
For quite a while, and then I knew he was playing a show in Dallas, and so I went on the hunt. And these are very hard to find, because they're just not out there as much anymore. So I went and grabbed it. I met him at the show and said, "You're my teacher, so you got to sign the guitar."
That's cool, man. I love it. Look at that. Look at the jack input.
Yeah. I don't play this because, to your point, it's very difficult to play a flying V.
Because a lot of your videos you're sitting down in them like I do with mine. It's like hard.
Yes, and I think one of the coolest things, I'm constantly scrubbing eBay and Reverb, and anywhere that you can kind of find rare, harder to find guitars.
Mm-hmm.
such as the Mr. Bones.
Oh yeah, Mr. Bones.
George
Tell her.
Lynch was, George
Yeah.
Lynch and David Gilmour were probably my two biggest influences growing up. And so finding this now, it's not original, it's a replica.
Right.
But still, even replicas are going for major money. And I picked this off at a pawn shop of all places. So
Of course you
never,
did.
you never know where you're going to find stuff. And so it's important, that I think that people just keep going out there and looking.
What a beast! What a beast, George Lynch, man. Dokken. I remember I got Dokken album, man. Oh my gosh, man. Then Lynch Mob later. Whew. So yeah.
Lynch Mob was amazing.
Yeah.
Just amazing. I got lucky to see both live.
Oh wow.
And just to watch him and even watch him today. I haven't seen him today, but I would love the opportunity to be able to do that. And I mentioned Shine before, and then this is Nick Myers, PRS. So when I got to meet him a few times, and so got him to autograph this one too, which was cool.
Awesome. So, that's cool. Is that like a hollow body, semi-hollow or something?
Semi-hollow, mahogany body with a maple top, a maple cap, actually, sorry. Maple cap with a maple kind of veneer on the top of it. But it's a really light guitar. And again, for me, even whether it's a Strat or whether it's anything, it's this satin neck versus the painted neck is so much better to play, which is why I love the custom shop models. When they shave all that off there, it makes it so much easier.
Man, the one I got from Drew, I'll plug Drew from the Guitar House of Tulsa, man. I got that, and I just told him recently, I said, him and his crew down there, we have a lot of guitar stores in Tulsa, like amazing ones. We're pretty blessed with it. Unbelievable, yeah. We got so many. And Guitar House Tulsa is one of my main ones where I got that. And I told them, man, you guys ruined me, because it's taken me about 1.5 years to find anything anywhere I've been for me to even be interested in it. And it was another guitar last week at his place by Wildwood. So if you ever watched, I found a Telecaster. If Drew's listening out there, but it's a Wildwood Telecaster like custom shop, So anywho, so I know we're getting close to ending up, finishing up on some time here. Why don't you tell everybody what type of future plans you have?
So future plans, so what I kind of do, kind of my MO is, I release a song usually every month in the fall. So starting in September, and I go October through January. And then just release a song each one of those times. I felt that at least with the engagement that I've received from my audience is more like, don't give us an album because they're not going to listen to it anyway. So it's just like, fine, I'll just piece this out. So, and then, usually in the spring, I'll get out to kind of support it, usually through either open mic nights or I'll find other people to play with. And then I just kind of start the whole process over. And so in between all that time, it's either funny videos or guitar playing videos, and then songs, that are kind of coming up. So nothing crazy other than just, using every opportunity I can to learn and to grow and to just keep doing what I love, because ultimately at the end of the day, this is my therapy, and this is how I release it, and I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, we're enjoying it too, man. Everybody else gets to tap into this and check it out. And a question for you: if somebody's interested in having you play on one of their songs, or if they have a question about songwriting, are you interested in engaging in that type of area too?
100%. I've had people reach out, and I've collaborated here and there where I can, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But I'm completely open, to making that happen.
Awesome. Yeah, that's cool, man. So if anybody's got any questions or anything, I'll just send them your way, and they can reach you. Is there an email that'd be better to find you at than Instagram, or just find you on Instagram?
Find me on Instagram. It's easier just to DM me that way, or go ahead and go for the follow. Email just gets, I deal with email way too much, and so it's just, it's easier when you're on your phone.
Get off my lawn. we start showing our age a little bit. Like, I get too many emails. I know I run into people. I run a little nonprofit company for veterans and stuff, and I get people that email me stuff, and I don't even catch it sometimes. It's like, all of a sudden I get a message on my Facebook page, and they're mad at me. Like, I was trying to donate something. You never got back to me or something. I'm like, I look at my email. There's like 110 of them for the weekend. I'm like, what? I don't have enough time to get through this. I gotta play guitar.
I want to write a book on how much time is wasted using email.
I know some books out there that tell people and coach people into saying only check it once a day or once every other day kind of thing, and helps people with all that type of stuff. So, yeah. But getting on your channel, they need to get on there every day, right, brother? They need to check you out, man. I mean, I need to push your stuff. Forget checking your email. Go out and check Jason's Instagram page. Hey, man, is there any? What's up?
Things I
Go for it.
you.
Yeah.
Because my kids will kill me if I don't.
Sure.
So I had Taylor make me a couple of custom shop models too.
Nice.
So here's a T5Z that they made for me. That, by the way, I paid for it, so I just want to make sure that Taylor's not giving me free stuff. Mm-hmm. Not yet, anyway. What was really cool is in the neck, I had their initials placed in the neck.
Really?
So, right at the 12th fret.
And, cool.
I'll send you a picture of it. It's really cool. And
I like that.
And so they made me that one, and so I went back to them, and then had them build me a 12 fret model here.
Oh wow, cool.
So same thing, all the back, and then right at the 12th fret, they put my kids' initials in there too, which is really cool. So,
what kind of wood is that?
This one is it's a spruce top, and I believe rosewood sides and back, and they're like, do you want to show any of the wood? And I said, no, I want it paint. I want it murdered out. I want it all, because I just love the color. You know,
that's cool. Yeah,
and it just sounds great.
So. Yeah, man, sounds pretty good, man. Have you had some videos with that? Because I might have seen it already. I don't know.
I did. I've had a few with that guitar, and I've actually had a few with the T5Z, because I'll sometimes play that instead of full electric, because the T5Z is another one that's very versatile in my opinion. To being able to play, just acoustic stuff, and even to the rock stuff too. So.
I love it, man. I was just looking at one on Reverb the other day, man, and texting a friend of mine, asking him his opinion about them. I know guys that have them, like yourself, and I have a Taylor acoustic, and I use a Taylor acoustic. I use my Strat. Those are really my two guitars. That's all I really use right now. But I was thinking that could be a good bridge, between like electric and acoustic.
It's really neat. I mean, I just think they've got a lot of cool sounds to them, and I used to have a few of them. Because in my years of collecting, I was fine. Like, well, if I have one, I need to have two. And now I'm realizing, no, you don't. But this one's blue.
Just like me, I could buy Strats like all day, man. I could have like a whole room of Strats. And my friend Naynat on my other show playing, and you'll see more of him, I think, here in the future and on the show and stuff. It's like he always gets on me. He's like, maybe you should look at something different. I'm like, I love Strats, man. I just like, I can look at Strats all day. And Taylors, I love Taylors too. So
yeah. And so I think as the older at least that I get, I look at. I realized, you don't need two of everything. You just need different. So look for something that's unique. Look for something that's different, and go for.
Well, I'll look for 60 Strat instead of 59.
Yeah, exactly. It's different. It's a different year.
It's different. Yeah.
There is a difference between the 69 and the 70 Chevelle. I mean, I could be wrong, but.
Look at the Mustangs. Look at the Mustangs too. Yeah, I know, right? That's what I'm telling you. I love it, man. We just lost some people. Some younger people are out. They're like, I don't know. Like, what? A Mustang's a 4-door car. Like the new Mustangs.
That's right.
Whatever that is. I don't know what. I'm like, that's not a Mustang. I was next to somebody at the light the other day, and I'm like, literally in town, and I'm looking at it going, shaking my head. I'm like, you know what I'm talking about?
And they're like, and it's electric.
I'm like, yeah, I grew up with a diesel mechanic as a father. He had a 65 GTO, and my buddy had a 68 Firebird in high school, man, Tony, Anthony, yeah, man. So, yeah, those of us who grew up in the 70s and 80s, I'm like, yeah, I'm not buying too much of this new stuff. I don't know, man.
It's crazy when my kids were getting their first car, and you're looking at Honda Civics or, like Dodge Neons kind of thing. And I was driving around a 1970 Ford Bronco, and it was loud as as hell. And you're just cranking down the road. And you're like, this is my first car.
Yeah, I had like a Camaro and stuff. Really, when I got out of the army, I had like a 1984 Camaro with a 6-cylinder, but I didn't care, man. I was rocking it, man. I was playing my Zakk Wylde and my Journeys. That was like 94. But it's funny, man. So hey, man, as we're wrapping up the show, who do you want to give a shout out to? Anybody out there? Any friends? Any music people?
No, just basically everybody who I come in contact with. I just can't thank you enough. These opportunities are few and far between, so you take advantage of them and just enjoy the journey as you go along. And like I said, the people that I've met, like I said, whether it be Steve, whether it be Zach, whether it be Dave, it's you're not looking at lifelong friendships, but you're looking at those nuggets of things that inspire you to do better and to keep pushing forward. So as I say in all of my Instagram posts and stories, as you know, is choose happy, because
there you go.
It's a very short life, so enjoy it.
All right. On that note, Jayson, I'm gonna let you go, buddy, and I appreciate your time, big guy. Thanks for being on the show.
Well, thank you so much, and I hope have fun this weekend. I know you got.
I wanna live where no one knows who we are and who we know. In a love we share alone, in a place that we call home. I wanna feel you breathe me in, intoxication that I own. This everlasting drug I'm sold, in a love that won't grow cold. And every time I feel alive is the time I'm close to you. And I can't breathe without your smile, your embrace I can't lose. Yeah, I'm addicted to you.